Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video. I'm so glad you're here because what we are going to talk about might just transform your life and relationships. We're diving deep into something that affects all of us: how to protect your energy from negative people. You know that feeling when you interact with someone and suddenly feel completely drained? Like they've somehow sucked all your positive energy right out of you? Or maybe you've had a great day, feeling motivated and happy, until a particular person walks into the room, and within minutes, your mood crashes. If you're nodding your head right now, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not imagining things. Let me share something personal with you. A few years ago, I had a colleague who was the embodiment of negativity. Every conversation became a complaint session. Every success became a reason to point out what could go wrong next. At first, I tried to be the positive influence, to lift them up. But after months of this dynamic, I noticed something alarming. I was becoming negative too. My creativity suffered, my happiness diminished, and I dreaded going to work. That's when I realized I wasn't protecting my energy, and it was costing me dearly. Energy exchange between people is real. Science confirms that our emotions and attitudes are contagious. We pick up on the emotional states of others through subtle cues in their body language, tone of voice, and the words they choose. This phenomenon, sometimes called emotional contagion, means we're constantly being influenced by the energy of those around us. The good news? Once you understand how energy dynamics work, you can take control. You can create boundaries that protect your positive energy while still engaging with the world around you. And that's exactly what we're going to explore today. In this video, I'll share with you 7 powerful, practical methods to shield your energy from negative influences. First, we'll learn how to recognize negative energy, because awareness is always the first step to change. Then we'll explore how to establish rock-solid boundaries with others. Third, I'll teach you techniques to create an energetic shield around yourself. Fourth, we'll dive into developing psychological resilience. Fifth, you'll learn practical methods to cleanse your energy after negative interactions. Sixth, we'll talk about building a network of positive connections. And finally, I'll show you how to transform negative energy into positive power. By the end of this video, you'll have a complete toolkit to protect yourself from energy vampires while maintaining your authenticity and compassion. These aren't just theoretical concepts. These are practical strategies I've personally used and taught to thousands of others with remarkable results. So grab a notebook, get comfortable, and let's begin this journey to reclaiming your energetic sovereignty. Remember, protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's essential to showing up as your best self for everyone in your life. Now, let's dive into our first powerful method: how to recognize negative energy before it affects you. Now, let's dive into our first powerful method: how to recognize negative energy before it affects you. You can't protect yourself from something you don't recognize. Think of negative energy like a virus. Detecting it early means you can activate your defenses before it takes hold. So what does negative energy actually look like? First, it's important to understand that negative people aren't always obvious complainers or openly hostile individuals. Sometimes, the most dangerous energy drains come from subtle sources. Here are the key signs to watch for. The first red flag is how you feel in someone's presence. Your body is an incredible energy detector. When you're around negative energy, you might notice physical sensations like tension in your shoulders, a knot in your stomach, or suddenly feeling tired for no apparent reason. Perhaps you develop a headache that wasn't there before, or you find yourself sighing more often. These physical reactions are your body's alarm system telling you, caution, energy drain ahead. Beyond physical sensations, notice behavioral patterns. Negative people often dominate conversations with problems, but show little interest in solutions. They might frequently gossip, criticize others behind their backs, or make everything about themselves. Some can be masterful at playing the victim, where nothing is ever their responsibility. Others might be constant complainers, where nothing is ever good enough. A key identifier is how you feel after interacting with them. Do you feel inspired and energized, or depleted and exhausted? Do you find yourself adopting their negative outlook? Are you suddenly doubting yourself or feeling anxious about things that didn't bother you before? Let me share a practical example. I once had a friend who would call regularly, and our conversations would always start pleasantly. But within minutes, the conversation would shift to all the terrible things happening in her life. After these calls, I noticed I'd feel physically drained, my mood would plummet, and I'd start worrying about issues that weren't even mine. That's a classic energy drain. Now here's a powerful exercise I want you to try today: the energy audit. For the next week, after each significant interaction, take 30 seconds to note: how do I feel physically right now? How has my mood changed since before this interaction? What thoughts am I having now that I wasn't having before? Rate each interaction on a scale from -5, extremely draining, to +5, extremely energizing. After a week, patterns will emerge. You'll clearly see which relationships fill your cup and which ones empty it. Remember, this isn't about labeling people as good or bad. Everyone struggles sometimes, and we all have difficult days. This is about recognizing patterns and becoming aware of how different relationships affect your energy over time. Also, important to note, sometimes we're drawn to negative people because of unresolved patterns in our own lives. If you find yourself repeatedly attracted to relationships that drain you, this might be worth exploring with a trusted therapist or coach. The ability to recognize negative energy is your first line of defense. It's like developing a sixth sense that alerts you when your energy is at risk. With practice, you'll become so attuned to energy shifts that you'll be able to activate your protection methods before significant damage occurs. Now that you can recognize when your energy is under attack, let's move on to method number 2, establishing boundaries that protect your energy while still allowing you to engage meaningfully with others. Now that you can recognize when your energy is under attack, let's move on to method number 2, establishing boundaries that protect your energy while still allowing you to engage meaningfully with others. Boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges that allow you to connect with others safely. Think of them as the energetic equivalent of your home's front door. You decide when to open it, when to keep it closed, and who gets to enter. Many of us struggle with boundaries because we've been conditioned to believe that having limits means we're selfish or unkind. Nothing could be further from the truth. Clear boundaries actually allow for healthier, more authentic relationships because they prevent resentment and burnout. So how do you establish effective boundaries with negative people? It starts with the power of no. 2 simple letters that can transform your energy field. Learning to say no without guilt is a superpower. When someone makes a request that doesn't align with your well-being, a simple, "I'm sorry, I can't do that right now," is completely sufficient. You don't need to explain, justify, or defend your decision. Remember this phrase: no is a complete sentence. For example, if a chronically negative colleague always wants to have lunch to vent about work, you might say, "I'm focusing on keeping my lunch breaks positive these days, but I'd be happy to connect during a team-building activity." This maintains the relationship while protecting your energy during vulnerable times. With family members, boundaries can be particularly challenging because of established dynamics and expectations. If you have a relative who constantly criticizes your life choices, you might need to create a clear boundary. "I understand you care about me, but comments about my career choices are off limits. If this continues, I'll need to end our conversation." The key is consistency. Boundaries only work when you enforce them consistently. The first few times you establish a new boundary, you'll likely face resistance. This is actually a good sign. It means the other person recognizes that the old dynamic is changing. Here's a practical framework for setting boundaries with negative people. First, identify exactly what behavior is draining your energy. Be specific. Is it their constant complaining? Their tendency to turn everything negative? Their disrespect for your time? Second, decide what limit you need. Do you need to reduce contact entirely? Do you need to limit conversations to certain topics? Do you need to establish time limits? Third, communicate your boundary clearly and calmly, using "I" statements rather than accusations. For example, "I've noticed I need more positive energy in my day, so I'm limiting conversations about problems unless we're actively working on solutions." Fourth, define the consequence if the boundary is crossed. This isn't a threat. It's simply informing them what you'll do to protect yourself, like ending the conversation or taking a break from the relationship. And finally, follow through consistently, without anger or apology. One powerful technique I've found useful is the energy appointment. With particularly draining people you can't avoid, schedule specific times to interact when your energy is strongest. For instance, you might decide that you'll only engage with your negative colleague before noon, when your reserves are fullest. Remember, setting boundaries isn't about controlling others. It's about taking responsibility for your own well-being. You can't change how others behave, but you can absolutely change how you respond and what you allow into your energetic space. Now that you've learned how to establish protective boundaries, let's move on to our third method: creating an actual energetic shield around yourself. Now that you've learned how to establish protective boundaries, let's move on to our third method: creating an actual energetic shield around yourself. This might sound a bit mystical at first, but stay with me. These techniques are based on visualization and mindfulness practices that have been used across cultures for centuries to manage energy and maintain emotional balance. Think of your personal energy as a force field that surrounds your body. Just like an immune system protects you from physical viruses, your energy shield protects you from emotional and psychological toxins. Let me teach you 3 powerful techniques to create and maintain this protective shield. The first is the bubble of light visualization. This is a practice I use every morning before entering potentially draining environments. Close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. As you inhale, imagine drawing in pure, golden light. As you exhale, visualize this light expanding around you, creating a luminous bubble that surrounds your entire body. This bubble is permeable to positive energy, but reflects and deflects negativity. Imagine this bubble as having a specific texture, color, and even sound that resonates with protection for you. For example, when I know I'll be meeting with someone who tends to be negative, I take a moment beforehand to create my bubble of light. Throughout our interaction, whenever I feel their negativity attempting to penetrate my space, I silently reinforce my bubble, seeing it grow stronger and brighter. It's remarkable how effective this simple visualization can be. The second technique is grounding and centering. Negative energy often disconnects us from our center, making us feel scattered and vulnerable. To prevent this, practice grounding yourself several times daily. Place your feet firmly on the floor. Imagine roots extending from your feet deep into the earth. Feel these roots drawing up stabilizing energy into your body while sending any negative energy back to be transformed by the earth. You can practice this subtly anywhere, while sitting in a meeting, standing in line, or even during a challenging conversation. No one will know you're doing it, but you'll feel the difference immediately. The third technique is conscious breathing. Your breath is a powerful tool for maintaining your energy shield. When you feel negative energy approaching, shift to what I call shield breathing. Inhale for a count of 4, visualizing protective energy filling your lungs. Hold for 2, and exhale for 6, imagining any negativity being released and transformed. This extended exhale activates your parasympathetic nervous system, keeping you calm and centered, even in toxic environments. Now, here's a daily practice I recommend to strengthen your energy shield over time. Every morning, spend just 3 minutes creating your shield for the day. Sit quietly, visualize your protective bubble, set your intention for how you want your energy to flow that day, and reinforce that nothing can penetrate this shield without your permission. Throughout the day, whenever you encounter negative energy, take a single conscious breath to reinforce your protection. What makes this practice so powerful is that it shifts you from reactive to proactive. Rather than scrambling to recover after your energy has been drained, you're creating protection in advance. It's like applying sunscreen before going outside, rather than treating a sunburn after the damage is done. Remember, this isn't about blocking all feelings or becoming cold and distant. Your shield is selective. It allows connection, love, and positive exchanges to flow freely, while filtering out energy that doesn't serve you. With practice, maintaining your energy shield will become second nature, requiring just moments of your attention throughout the day. And the benefits extend far beyond protection. Many people report greater clarity, improved intuition, and more authentic connections once they learn to manage their energy in this way. Now that you've created your external protection, let's move on to our fourth method, developing internal psychological resilience that makes you less vulnerable to negative energy in the first place. Now that you've created your external protection, let's move on to our fourth method, developing internal psychological resilience that makes you less vulnerable to negative energy in the first place. Think of resilience as your emotional immune system. Just as a strong physical immune system can fight off infections before they make you sick, psychological resilience helps you maintain your positive energy even when faced with negativity. The truth is, we can't always control who we encounter or what energy they bring. What we can control is how deeply that energy affects us. That's where psychological resilience comes in. Let's explore 4 powerful practices to build your inner strength. First, there's cognitive reframing, the practice of consciously shifting how you interpret negative situations. When someone brings negative energy into your space, instead of thinking, "This person is ruining my day," you might reframe it as, "This is an opportunity to practice my energy protection skills." This simple shift moves you from feeling like a victim to feeling empowered. For example, I once had a client who dreaded weekly meetings with her highly critical boss. We worked on reframing these encounters from torture sessions to resilience training. She would actually thank her boss in her mind for providing such excellent practice. Within weeks, her boss's comments had lost their power to upset her. The second practice is mindfulness meditation. Even 5 minutes daily of focused awareness builds your ability to observe negative energy without absorbing it. When you meditate regularly, you create space between stimulus and response, meaning you can choose how to react rather than automatically absorbing others' negative states. A simple mindfulness practice is to focus on your breath for 5 minutes each morning. When thoughts arise, simply notice them without judgment and return to your breath. Over time, you'll develop the same ability during interactions with negative people, noticing their negativity without taking it on as your own. The third practice is cultivating gratitude. Research shows that a regular gratitude practice actually changes your brain's sensitivity to negative experiences. By deliberately focusing on what's good in your life, you create neural pathways that make positivity your default state, making it much harder for others' negativity to take root. Try keeping a gratitude journal. Each night, before bed, write down 3 specific things you appreciated that day. They don't have to be extraordinary. The warmth of sunlight, a moment of connection with a stranger, or even a delicious cup of coffee. This practice primes your brain to notice the positive rather than being hijacked by the negative. The fourth resilience-building practice is self-compassion. Often, we're most vulnerable to others' negative energy when we're already being hard on ourselves. Learning to treat yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a good friend creates a buffer against external negativity. When you make a mistake or face criticism, try placing a hand over your heart and saying to yourself, "This is a moment of suffering, Suffering is part of being human. May I be kind to myself in this moment. This simple practice activates your parasympathetic nervous system and counteracts the stress response that makes you vulnerable to negative energy. These 4 practices, cognitive reframing, mindfulness meditation, gratitude, and self-compassion, work together to build unshakable inner strength. When your internal foundation is solid, external negativity simply doesn't have the same power over you. Remember, resilience isn't about becoming hard or insensitive. It's about developing the inner resources to remain centered in your own positive energy, regardless of what's happening around you. It's about being so filled with your own light that darkness can't find a foothold. With consistent practice, you'll notice that situations and people that once drained you completely might barely register as a minor inconvenience. That's psychological resilience in action. Now that we've built both external protection and internal strength, let's move on to our 5th method, techniques for cleansing your energy after negative interactions have already occurred. Now that we've built both external protection and internal strength, let's move on to our 5th method, techniques for cleansing your energy after negative interactions have already occurred. No matter how strong your boundaries and shields are, sometimes negative energy still seeps through. Perhaps you were caught off guard, or maybe you had to spend extended time in a toxic environment. Whatever the reason, knowing how to cleanse your energy afterward is essential for your well-being. Think of energy cleansing like taking a shower after getting muddy. Just as you wouldn't continue your day covered in dirt, you shouldn't carry others' negative energy with you. Let me share some powerful cleansing techniques that work within minutes. The first technique is the cord-cutting visualization. We often remain energetically connected to negative interactions hours or even days after they've ended. To cut these invisible cords, stand with your feet shoulder-width apart and take a deep breath. Imagine all the energetic connections between you and the negative person or situation as cords extending from your body. Now, using your hands, make a deliberate cutting motion while visualizing these cords being severed. As you do this, say aloud or in your mind, "I now release all connections that do not serve my highest good." I once used this technique after a particularly difficult meeting where tensions ran high. Within moments of cutting the cords, I felt the heaviness lift from my chest, and I was able to move on with my day unburdened. The second cleansing method involves using natural elements. Water is one of the most powerful energy cleansers available to us. After a negative interaction, take a shower and visualize the water washing away all energetic residue. As the water flows over you, set the intention that all negative energy is being carried down the drain. If a shower isn't possible, even washing your hands while holding this intention can make a significant difference. Similarly, salt has been used across cultures for energy purification. Try adding Epsom or sea salt to a bath, or create a quick energy reset by mixing salt with water in a bowl and soaking your hands or feet for a few minutes, imagining the salt drawing out negativity like a magnet. The third cleansing technique is physical movement. Negative energy can become trapped in your body, manifesting as tension or discomfort. Movement breaks this stagnation. After a draining interaction, try going for a brisk walk, dancing to an upbeat song, or even just shaking your body vigorously for 30 seconds. Pay special attention to shaking your hands and feet, as these extremities often hold onto external energy. One of my clients, a therapist who works with challenging cases, keeps a small trampoline in her office. After difficult sessions, she spends just 1 minute bouncing to physically release any heavy energy she may have absorbed. She reports that this simple practice completely transformed her ability to remain present and energized throughout her workday. Here's a comprehensive end-of-day cleansing ritual that combines these techniques. Begin by standing in a quiet space and taking 3 deep breaths. Perform the cord-cutting visualization to release connections from the day. Shake out your body, starting from your feet and moving upward. Wash your hands in cool water with the intention of cleansing. Change your clothes, symbolically removing the day's energy. Light a candle or diffuse an uplifting essential oil to reset the space around you. The entire ritual takes less than 5 minutes, but can completely transform how you feel and prevent you from carrying negative energy into your personal time or sleep. Remember, energy cleansing isn't just a luxury. It's essential maintenance for your energetic well-being. Just as you wouldn't go weeks without bathing, don't go long periods without cleansing your energy field, especially after interactions that leave you feeling depleted. Now that you know how to cleanse negative energy, let's discuss our 6th method: surrounding yourself with positive influences that naturally elevate your energy. Now that you know how to cleanse negative energy, let's discuss our 6th method: surrounding yourself with positive influences that naturally elevate your energy. There's a famous saying that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. While this may be an oversimplification, there's profound truth in it from an energetic perspective. The people you regularly interact with have an enormous impact on your energy levels, mindset, and even your possibilities in life. Think of positive connections as energy amplifiers. When you're around people who are supportive, optimistic, and genuinely want to see you thrive, your own energy naturally elevates. These relationships don't drain you. They refill your cup. So how do you build this network of positive energy? It starts with recognition. You need to identify who the energy givers in your life are. These are people who leave you feeling inspired, motivated, and more like yourself after you interact with them. You walk away from conversations with them feeling lighter and more expansive. Pay attention to specific qualities in people who uplift your energy. They tend to be good listeners, who are present when you speak, rather than waiting for their turn to talk. They celebrate your successes without jealousy. They offer constructive feedback without tearing you down. And importantly, they have a solution-oriented mindset rather than dwelling exclusively on problems. Once you've identified these positive connections, make a deliberate effort to nurture these relationships. Schedule regular time with them. Be as generous with your energy as they are with theirs. Create rituals of connection that prioritize these life-giving relationships. For example, I have a monthly video call with 3 friends who never fail to inspire me. We call it our Possibility Circle, and we each share our current challenges, but focus primarily on opportunities and growth. I never miss these calls because I know how profoundly they affect my energy for weeks afterward. Now, what about professional settings where you can't always choose who you interact with? Look for the positive influencers in your workplace or community. Even in the most challenging environments, there are usually a few people who maintain their positive energy. Align yourself with them. Eat lunch together. Collaborate on projects when possible. Their energy will help buffer you from the more negative elements in your environment. Another powerful practice is to expand your network beyond just the people physically present in your life. Books, podcasts, online communities, and courses can connect you with positive energy, even when your immediate surroundings are challenging. I have clients who start every morning listening to an inspiring podcast specifically to set their energetic tone for the day, before encountering any potentially negative influences. Remember that building a positive network isn't about avoiding all people with problems or challenges. Everyone goes through difficult times. The distinction is between people who are temporarily struggling but still maintain a fundamentally positive approach to life, versus those who chronically drain others without awareness or responsibility for their impact. Here's a simple exercise to help you map your energy network. Draw a circle with yourself at the center. In the innermost ring around you, write the names of people you interact with daily. In the next ring, those you see weekly, and in the outer ring, those you connect with monthly. Now, color code each name. Green for energy givers, red for energy drainers, and yellow for neutral interactions. This visual map often reveals surprising patterns about where your energy is going. Your goal should be to increasingly fill your inner circles with green names while creating appropriate boundaries with the red ones. Remember, this isn't about abandoning people who need support. It's about ensuring that you have sufficient positive energy sources so that when you do support others, you're doing so from abundance rather than depletion. Now that you've learned how to surround yourself with positive energy, let's move on to our final and perhaps most powerful method, transforming negative energy into fuel for positive growth. Now that you've surrounded yourself with positive energy, let's move on to our final and perhaps most powerful method, transforming negative energy into fuel for growth. This step is where true mastery begins, not just avoiding negativity, but alchemizing it. You see, not all negative energy needs to be blocked or released. Some of it is meant to be transformed. Just like compost becomes fertilizer and pressure turns coal into diamonds, your pain can become purpose when handled consciously. Let's begin with a simple truth. Negative energy often points to unhealed places within us. A harsh comment may trigger insecurity. A toxic relationship may reflect an old pattern of self-worth. These moments, as unpleasant as they are, hold valuable messages. When we meet them with awareness, they become invitations, not threats. So how do we transmute this energy? First, practice conscious reflection. After a negative experience, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this showing me about myself?" This subtle shift turns you from victim to student, from resistance to revelation. Second, use emotional alchemy. Next time you're overwhelmed by frustration or sadness, Try this exercise. Sit in stillness. Locate the emotion in your body. Breathe into it. Then ask it, "What are you trying to teach me?" Let the emotion speak. Often, behind anger is a boundary crossed. Behind sadness is something sacred that mattered. Third, transform through action. Once you've received the insight, do something different. If someone constantly criticizes you, use that moment to strengthen your internal affirmation. I define my worth. If a toxic encounter reveals your silence, use it to reclaim your voice. Transformation is not just thinking differently. It's living differently. And finally, remember, your energy system is adaptable. The more you use negative moments as fuel for expansion, the more resilient, radiant, and rooted you become. Like spiritual Aikido, you learn to redirect incoming force, not absorb it, not fight it, but flow with it and redirect it into power. This is energetic sovereignty at its highest expression.